Introducing the Little League with Environmental, Second Hands Dumfries, the Sortinator, Mushy Mac and the E-Whale. They're the elite team keeping Armidale clean. The Little League cleaning up the streets.
Dancing's always been my passion. I run afternoon tea dances and classes within the City of Armidale. I love running these classes because of the camaraderie. The people are absolutely wonderful. It's fantastic to deal with the City of Armidale. They make everything available to us. I hire the Armidale District Hall, which is 5 minutes from my house. We're also at the Kelmscott Hall for when we have bigger volumes of people, and always great facilities, including the kitchen, which of course the kitchen's very important. As much as the dance floor is important for us, the kitchen's also equally important. We have people that come that have never danced before in their lives, and people that have lost other people, and come and enjoy meeting other people and connecting with other people. And seeing them dance from never dancing before is incredibly rewarding, puts a smile on everyone's face.
The City of Armidale has grown, developed and strengthened what they do, the access and inclusion. We're starting in Shipwreck Park, which is a fully all-inclusive, all-abilities play space that has accessible toilets and a change in place facility. The city had nowhere for children or adults with disability to go as a family. So the city, along with Stockland, got together, created a working group, and we started working on that magnificent facility that you see behind. It was officially open on International Day of Disability.
City of Armidale's Access and Inclusion Plan is to keep the city accountable, and things are made better for the future for access and inclusion.
The events team has grown and strengthened, and in particular is a Perth Chill Run and the Armidale Highland Gathering, on which are two fully inclusive and accessible events.
It's really great to see the community get involved with each other and not being excluded. We've got to make sure everyone's included with all the events we do, or just being in the parks together, and that's just fantastic.
The most vital importance is that community voices are heard along in partnership with the City of Armidale, strengthening access and inclusion for everyone for the future.
The city has a great number of facilities where you can go to learn new skills, meet new people, and just to learn a wide variety of things. We've got the museum here. We've got the Bert Tyler Vintage Machinery Museum at the Visitor Centre, and there's the Bert Whistle Local Studies Library at Armidale Library as well. It's nice to look back. Where did we come from? How did we get here? The purpose of History House is to collect, preserve, and to then exhibit, as you can see around me, the history of the City of Armidale. We've been doing that since 1976, and since then we've been trying to expand the stories that we tell. It's great seeing the reactions from the local community and also the outside community when people come to visit. A lot of them are surprised at how long the history here goes and all the different things that we've had here, from winemaking to brick making and to the different communities that live here. We've got amazing collections, so if you've got an object that you think is really important that tells the history of the Armidale, come in and talk to us, and if you're willing to donate it, chances are we'll be willing to take it with that great story. One of the things I love about working in the City of Armidale and at the History House Museum is just the wide world that I get to play in. I love history, and the city's got a great history.
Would you all be upstanding for Her Worship, Mayor Ruth Butterfield? Thanks, everyone. I will just, we've got new technology and we've had about half an hour with it. So please bear with us, everyone. And welcome along to the City of Armidale's council meeting of the 10th of August. I will begin by paying our respects to the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet, the Whadjuk Noongar people, and pay our respects to elders past and present. So I declare the meeting open at 7 o'clock. And we have a leave of absence previously granted to Councillor Thomas. And we have an apology from Councillor Mosey. And that brings us to advice of response to previous public questions taken on notice. And we do have those on the agenda, and those have been sent out to the members of the public who asked questions last week. Public question time, we do have 15 minutes for public question time. So if you do have a question, could you come forward to the microphone, give your name and suburb, please, and ask a question. So if anyone has a question at this point, like, you don't get another chance at this. So if there's no questions, I'll close public question time and go to applications for leave of absence. And we do have quite a few of these. Thank you. We've got now applications for leave of absence, where we have got on our agenda an application of for leave of absence from Councillor Busby, and one for Councillor Jorgensen. We've got one for Councillor Paul Hetherington and one for Councillor Stoneham. So I'll just read out the dates. So for Councillor Busby, we have the Tuesday, the 18th of August to the 20th of August, inclusive. The 8th of August to, the 8th of September to Friday, the 11th of September, inclusive. And also the 5th of October 2026 to Tuesday the 27th of October, inclusive. So that was Councillor Busby. Could I have someone move a receipt of those and approval of those? Thank you. Councillor Singh, is there anyone opposed? If no one's opposed, thank you, that's carried. And now we'll go to Councillor Jorgensen, who has applied for the 10th of September to Tuesday the 15th of September inclusive. And I'll ask for a mover, and if anyone can move that, please. Councillor Singh has moved. Yes, you're in my line of sight, Councillor Singh. So Councillor Singh has moved that be received and approved. Is there anyone opposed? No one's opposed. Thank you. That's carried. Now we have Councillor Stoneham. Councillor Stoneham has applied for the 15th to the 22nd of August 2026. Could I have a mover for that? Be approved. Thank you, Councillor Jorgensen. Is there anyone opposed? If no one's opposed, thank you, that's carried. And I am aware, councillors, we're just rushing through this before without the voting system, just to get it out of the way. And the last one we have is Councillor Hetherington, who has requested the 1st of September to the 11th of September 2026, inclusive. Could I have a mover for that one, please? Councillor Singh again, thank you. Anyone opposed? No one opposed, thank you, that's carried. Right, petitions. Do we have any petitions for presentation tonight? If not, we'll move on to confirmation of minutes. Could I have someone confirm that the minutes that were emailed out to people represent a true and correct record? Councillor Sargison, thank you, has moved that. Is there anyone opposed? No one opposed? No, thank you, that's carried. Now we go to announcements by the person presiding without discussion. And we do have some things that I would like to mention. One of which was my visit to the VEX robotics tournament hosted by Pioneer Village School. They brought together a couple of other schools, and in partnership with Murdoch University, they held a competition in our Armidale Hall, and it was really wonderful to see primary school aged children doing programming and manoeuvring robots that they had designed and had to amend to the certain tasks that the robots were having to do on the day. So really great to see. The buzz in the room was amazing, and parents, students, teachers and assistants supporters were very, very engaged. I've never seen students more keen to get back from a lunch break than the kids that were engaging in the tournament. So, and that was made possible through a City of Armidale community grant. So it's just wonderful to see what our community grants can achieve when they're given out to projects within the community. Thank you. And then I'll move to questions by members of which due notice has been given without discussion, and there are no items. Reports. Community Services Committee meeting held on the 4th of August. Is the chair prepared to move? Okay, so there we go. We'll try this new system.
Beautiful. Thank you, Mayor. Yes, acknowledge receipt of the Community Services minutes held on Tuesday, 4th of August, subject to any corrections of which I have none.
trashing people here. Thank you very much. Chair has moved receipt of that meeting record. Is there anyone opposed? If no one's opposed, thank you, that's carried. And now we go to the draft community development strategy 2026 to 2031. And we'll have Councillor Stoneham is up on her feet. Councillor Stoneham, would you like to speak to this item?
Yes, if I could, Mayor. Sorry. Just press there we go. I'm on. Yes, if I could, please. I would like to move the recommendation that we endorse the community development strategy for whatever the dates are, whatever the recommendation is in the minutes. Sorry, I don't have it up on my screen.
Thank you, Councillor Stoneham. Is there anyone opposed? Councillor Keogh is opposed. Thank you. And I'll just ask then if there is a seconder for the motion. And you can press your buttons. Thank you. Councillor Hetherington, you've pressed yours first. So Councillor Stoneham, would you like to speak to the item?
Yes, I would. Thank you, Mayor, fellow councillors. When I read this strategy, I don't read it as promoting an ideology, which has been suggested by some members of the community. I read it as promoting good governance. For me, good governance means understanding who lives in our community, identifying barriers that they may have to participation, and evaluating whether the services we provide are reaching the people they are tended to serve consistently and fairly. This strategy doesn't exist in a vacuum. It has been developed within a legislative and policy environment that includes anti-discrimination legislation, workplace obligations, and child-safe principles that inform how local governments provide respectful, non-discriminatory access to services. Every section of this strategy is built in exactly the same way. It identifies a cohort, examines the available evidence, identifies the issues, establishes actions, and measures outcomes. That is exactly what I believe we should expect from a strategic document. Whether the strategy is discussing Aboriginal residents, people with disability, culturally and linguistically diverse communities, children, young people, older people, or people experiencing financial hardship, it follows the same evidence-based process. The section on the LGBTQIA+ community is no exception. I respect that members of our community will hold different religious, cultural, and philosophical views, and they are entitled to do so. However, respecting those differences does not require council to stop collecting evidence or evaluating whether our own services are accessible to every part of our community. Nothing in this strategy asks anyone to change what they believe. It asks us to understand our community, identify barriers to participation and well-being, and take measurable action and report on whether those actions are making a difference. Our responsibility is not to decide what people should believe. Our responsibility is to ensure that every resident feels welcome to access the services they pay for through their rates. This strategy helps us measure whether we are achieving that. That is not ideology, that is good governance. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Seconder, Councillor Hetherington, would you like to speak?
Thank you. Mayor, I rise today in support of the inclusion of the LGBTQIA+ people within the City of Armidale's community development strategy. I want to begin by making something very clear. When I was elected to represent the City of Armidale, and I say this often, I was elected to represent all of the people of the city, not some of them. That responsibility does not depend on whether I personally share someone's circumstances, their background, their beliefs, their identity or their life experience. And it means that when a cohort of people within our community has been identified, it is our responsibility as elected representatives to listen, understand their circumstances, and ensure that our community development work considers their needs. And that's what this strategy seeks to do. This strategy is built around some of the very important principles: empowerment, inclusion, social justice, and community-led action. It's about understanding the aspirations and needs of our residents, looking at the evidence, listening to our community, and responding appropriately. The inclusion of LGBTQIA+ people is consistent with that approach. Now, I acknowledge that for some people, my support of this particular section of the strategy might come as a surprise. I am a man of faith. My faith is an important part of who I am and how I approach life and public service. But my faith also reinforces for me the importance of treating people with dignity, compassion, and respect. I don't believe that representing our community requires us to agree with everyone on everything. It requires us to recognise the inherent dignity of the people we represent and to ensure that people can participate in our community without fear of discrimination. That's the standard that this strategy is seeking to establish. The evidence presented to us is compelling. The strategy tells us that more than 900,000 Australians, 4.5% of the population, identify as LGBTQI+, with around 176,000 people identifying as transgender or gender diverse. We also have local evidence. In the city's 2024 youth survey, 50 of the 472 respondents identified as LGBTQIA+. That, for me, is not an insignificant number. These are young people who live in our community. They attend our schools, they use our facilities, they participate in our community. They are our residents, our neighbours, our friends, and for some of us, our family members. And the strategy identifies something particularly important. That is that LGBTQIA+ people can experience higher rates of poor mental health and self-harm than the broader population. The data from our local Headspace service reinforces that this is not simply an abstract national issue. During the first 3 quarters of the 25-26 financial year, 30% of Headspace Armidale clients identified as LGBTQIA+, while around 6% identified as gender diverse. Those numbers should cause us to pause. Not because these people should be treated as a problem, however, but because when a particular group within our community experiences particular barriers, risks or challenge, it is reasonable and in fact it is responsible for a community development strategy to recognise that. This strategy also makes an important point that many LGBTQIA+ people are fearful of expressing their identity in public spaces and sometimes even within their own families. Our goal should be that people in Armidale do not have to live with that fear. The proposed actions are not about giving one group special treatment. They are practical measures designed to make sure our services and communications are welcoming and accessible. Consulting with LGBTQIA+ organisations and community members is important. Improving our understanding of local demographics so that future planning is based on better information, and importantly, recognising that being LGBTQIA+ is simply one of the many ways of being a person in Armidale. That last point is particularly important to me. We are not creating a separate community. We are creating people who are already part of our community. Now, I'm also aware that there have been emails circulating raising concerns about the forced use of specific language, including pronouns and in some contexts. And I want to be clear about where I stand on this. Respect and inclusion should never be about compulsion. They should never be about forcing individuals to speak in a way that goes against their conscience or their deeply held beliefs. That just cannot be the approach in a diverse community like ours. What we should be aiming for is something more human than that, a culture of respect where people are encouraged to be considerate and inclusive, but not coerced into language that they are not comfortable with. Because if we lose that balance, we risk undermining the very inclusion that we're trying to achieve. The broader community development strategy talks about fostering community spirit, improving wellbeing, providing facilities and services that meet diverse needs, and creating an inclusive and engaged community supported by diverse voices. If we mean these words, then inclusion has to mean inclusion of everyone. We already recognise many different cohorts within our community: Aboriginal people, people with disability, cultural and linguistically diverse communities, children, families, young people, older people, people experiencing financial hardship, housing insecurity, volunteers, the list goes on. The identification of LGBTQIA+ people within that framework is no different in principle. It is simply an acknowledgement that this is a cohort of people who live in our city and whose experiences and needs should be considered when we plan for the future. And I think that's an important distinction. Supporting this section does not require every person in the chamber or every resident of Armidale to hold the same personal beliefs. It requires us to agree on something much more fundamental, and that is that every person who calls Armidale home deserves to be treated with respect. We can have different beliefs, we can have different values, we can have different experiences, we can even disagree strongly on some issues, but we can still build a community where people are safe, where people can participate and where people can access services and where people know that their local government represents them. That's why I believe that that's what I believe this strategy is trying to achieve. This city's vision speaks about Armidale being a welcoming community where people choose to make their home. It speaks about community spirit, speaks about diversity, well-being and active participation. For me, those aren't just words in a strategic document, they are a responsibility. When I stood for election, I did not ask people about their sexuality, their gender identity, their faith, their ethnicity, their age, their disability, or their family circumstances before deciding whether I would represent them. I stood for election to represent the people of this city, all of them, not some of them. And so for that reason, I support including this section in this community development strategy, not because I believe they are more important than anyone else, but because I believe they are equally important. They are part of the city of Armidale. And if our ambition is to build a city where people feel safe, feel connected and proud to belong, then our definition of people has to mean everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hetherington. Councillor Keogh, would you like to speak?
Thanks, Mayor. Before I begin, I'd like to start by foreshadowing that if should this motion not pass, that we basically have a workshop for this particular item before us. So that would be my foreshadowed motion should this not pass. I wish to have time given to unpack and discuss this with councillors. I know that we all received some information from the city staff about 4.5 hours ago that I think warrants a little bit more time given for us to work through that information. And I think I guess passing on with what Councillor Hetherington was speaking about, that we do have due diligence to make sure we do a good job of this. I'm not opposed to the strategy in speaking against it, but I think a lot of us would benefit from being able to have a workshop with councillors where we can unpack this a bit more. I also just want to flag that I don't want this to be viewed that those who vote to support a workshop is a vote against any aspect one way or the other in the policy as it exists. It's just merely to allow a workshop to facilitate further discussion for us to make sure we do a good job of it as it does deserve. And as Councillor Hetherington spoke quite lengthily about us doing a right job, I think this warrants then making sure we have a workshop to ensure that's the case. And then lastly, I would just recognise that if we go for a workshop, it doesn't change the policy. It allows it to still come back to council following those processes. So it doesn't mean that this is the end of it should we vote then for it to be workshopped. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Keogh. Is there anyone to speak for the motion? Councillor Wallinga.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I'm just noting that this is our third iteration of the strategy, and it's been passed unanimously previously every time, and this time there is the addition of the LGBTQT+ community, and there seems to be some opposition. And the idea that we should go to a workshop to review this seems a little odd because we already had a presentation and time to discuss this with officers before it was presented at the committee, and all councillors are invited to this. I did attend. I wrote a lengthy letter, to the officers afterwards, suggesting numerous changes or formatting. So everyone had the opportunity. This was quite some time ago, so the councillors have had a lot of opportunity to unpack this with each other during that time. So the precedent that we might be setting here is when it comes to council and some people might not be happy with something, we're then going to send it back to a workshop. This is, of course, fine. We are obviously allowed to do that. But we do have a number of strategies coming up, and the local planning strategy, urban forest strategy, if we're going to send each one back for another workshop every time, we will be very busy with our workshops. And I suppose when it is our time to talk about them, maybe we should be talking about them then rather than not going and going. And I'm just a bit concerned about how many times we're going to workshop some things. So I support it as it is. I attended and I gave my comments, and everyone's had the opportunity to discuss it with me, and no one has. So I'm not sure what we need to unpack.
Thank you, Councillor Wallinga. Oops. Thank you, Councillor Wallinga. Is there anyone to speak against the motion? Councillor Busby.
Yep, thanks, Madam Mayor. It's I'd also would like to declare, just like Councillor Hetherington did, that I'm also a person of faith, and one of the things I do believe as a person of faith is that everybody deserves respect and dignity, and we're all created equal, and that's really important. So standing up today is not standing up as a person of faith against a particular group, but I do have concerns that, I haven't been able to ask the questions, and when we had the first presentation, I hadn't had a chance to read before that presentation, so I didn't really grasp. And then there was other people had questions, and then there was changes made, which only came pretty close to the community services meeting, and then it's interesting that it's generated a lot of a little bit of community interest, and I am supporting Councillor probably Keogh's, it would have been Councillor Mosey if he was here, to actually have a workshop, because I have lots of questions. And it's not just about that particular one. I do have questions about that, about some of the stats that have been made. We look at inclusion. I've never been made aware in my 15 years on council that there's been an issue in the city of Armidale that any of those mentioned in that group have been not respected, not treated right, not included anywhere, excluded from our events, facilities, sporting clubs. I've never been made aware of that. I've never even been made aware it's an issue, so I was actually surprised that it became such a large thing in our new strategy. It actually has more chatting, more explanation, and the numbers that I just would like to see some more of those stats, because that's important to me of what we do. I'm not saying that, and I'm not voting that we take it out, but I do have some concerns and I do have some questions that I do believe a workshop is important, and I do believe we get to talk about it more and ask some of those questions. The document we got today probably gave me more questions to ask, because it was 5 pages and we got it late this afternoon, and I had no chance to really go over that and check statistics and check facts and check what others are doing, and I really would have liked the opportunity to do that. I was actually very surprised that we actually got a document that big so late in the day for such an important strategy, which is for five years. And we do in here, we have the disability inclusion and access, so that's pretty important to us. We've been strong on that as a council for years, and that pretty much covers all that Councillor Stoneham said earlier, and even a lot of what Councillor Hetherington said, that we've always been a council that is inclusive. Always. So the need to actually become specific that just caught me off guard a little bit. In our disability and access inclusion, just on page 18 of this, 3% of children here, from our statistics here in Armidale, are special needs. But there's very little in the action plan and the actions and the measures for that. Well, should we not be, if we're going to go down the path, we should be more specific. I'd like to ask more questions on that. you know, and then then it says after that 25% required further assessment. So there's significant challenges through the whole city of Armidale, and if we're going to put these sorts of things into a strategy, you know, I'd probably like the opportunity to, you know, talk with my fellow councillors, and you know, sometimes it pays just to be able to talk freely and openly as we've done in the past, and I appreciate that. It's very difficult to do that, council, because we could stand up today, which I don't want to do, and say something that I may regret, or I may be wrong, or I may get the figures, the stats, the whatever wrong, and I don't want to do that. I've got questions. I've got questions on use correct language and pronouns and communications. I'd like to ask questions. How does that affect our staff? How does that affect council? How does it affect the community? What does that actually mean? I'd like to ask those questions, which I can't get answered tonight. You know, because I'd like those more detailed, you know, and I wouldn't want to put, you know, Rebecca or anyone on the spot for that, because, you know, I think there's a lot more behind that. Everybody should be respected. So I would ask our councillors for the opportunity to send this to a workshop to chat. This is really important. This is a 5-year strategy. And I believe, and I wasn't at the meeting, and I regret it, but at the last homeless working group that there was, and I read the minutes of that just recently, we've got issues there. We've got some real issues there. You know, we put this homeless working group together because we really want to make a difference, and I didn't realise until the last meeting and the minutes that it's not quite going as we planned, and it's not going to be as easy as we planned, and the legal stuff that we're going to face is not as we planned. You know, so all of a sudden, you know, I'd like to think that, well, maybe we need to put some more work onto that in our strategy. We've done pretty well with it, but now it's become bigger than Ben-Hur. So I've got some questions on what we could do for that and stuff like that. So, councillors, you know, I'm not asking you to vote against the strategy. That's not what I'm standing up to speak for. I'm asking for an opportunity for us to go over this whole strategy, because I believe there may be other questions about the outworkings of some things and the measures that we're trying to achieve for all of our groups. Community safety is covered pretty heavy in this. We get bombarded with that all the time. You know, aged, youth, and I think we could actually have get some really good outcomes, which we're pretty good at as a council doing through our community teams. So if I could indulge you, let's have a workshop. Let's have some further discussion, and within a month or so, 2 months at the most, it'll be back here and we'll be able to support or not support what's being done. So thanks, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Busby. Is there anyone to speak for the motion?
I have a question.
Yes. You can stand and pop your microphone on.
Since we have the author of the document that we're discussing here in the room, is it possible, since Councillor Busby has questions, that he could perhaps ask that author through the chair, if he needs clarification immediately?
Thank you, Councillor Jorgensen. I did make sure that the officers who wrote the report or were heavily involved with formulating it were present tonight so that they could answer questions if there were questions. It's up to the councillors to ask the questions though, so thank you. So with that, is there anyone to speak for the motion? Anyone to speak against? If not, I will ask Councillor Stoneham to wrap up.
Thank you, councillors. So, just to be clear, the document that came through this afternoon highlighting the legislative framework behind the community development strategy, that was something I requested this afternoon as some councillors were asking questions, so I asked to get a full breakdown of that. That is something that could have been asked for by any councillor since February, since we've been discussing this. So, since February this year, this strategy has been through community consultation, stakeholder engagement, officer review, a councillor briefing, and following that briefing on 7th of July, a further redraft incorporating councillor feedback. It's being suggested that this matter be referred to another workshop. Workshops are indeed an important place for developing ideas and exploring options. However, this strategy has been through that process. If members believe amendments are required, then I believe those amendments should be debated openly and transparently so that our officers have clear direction and our community understands the reasons for any changes. At some point, as council, we have a responsibility to make a decision. Our officers have done exactly what we asked them to do. They consulted the community, they listened to feedback, revised the document, brought it back to council. They've done everything we've asked of them. Strategies are living documents. If experience tells us something needs to change, we can change it. That's not a reason to delay adopting a strategy that is otherwise absolutely ready for council consideration. I do not support another workshop unless there's a clearly defined purpose and a clearly identified amendments that officers are being asked to consider. Otherwise, we're simply asking them to revisit a document without providing any meaningful direction. I believe we owe it to both our officers and to our community to determine the matter before us tonight. And I ask my fellow councillors to support me in passing the recommendation as written in the minutes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Stoneham. I'll ask all those in favour to please vote one way or the other. Thank you. So we show of hands and press the button as well, please, for voting. So you vote. So press it on your screen. Councillor Peter, you weren't here for the briefing, so press it on your screen if you're for. And so then it will come up. So then we not it. Okay, so sorry. And could I have all those against, please? If you press the button on your screen, and then put your hand up as well. Thank you. There's 4 hands and only 3 against. So can we make sure? Oh, did I not? Oh, sorry. Sorry, I had my hand in the air. So I'm on that one. And so now we've got 5. Okay. Does that add up? Does everyone?
Councillor Silver, I think.
Councillor Silver, you pressed the wrong button, perhaps?
We just don't have the bar across.
Oh, Councillor Silver, could you press on there? Ah, right, thank you. There, right. Okay, thank you, everybody. That is, the motion is 1, 8 and to 5. So the motion has been carried. Thank you for your debate tonight, councillors. Now we'll move on to the next item, which is the Chief Executive Officer's report. How do we get rid of this now? So it will go off our screens as well. Councillors, could I have someone move receipt of the CEO's report? Councillor Peter, thank you very much for moving that. I will now ask if anyone's opposed. If no one's opposed, thank you, that's carried. Now we move into 1.1, Councillors' Information Bulletin, issue number 12 of 2026, with the recommendation coming on page 17. Do I have a mover for that recommendation that states that Council acknowledge receipt of issue number 12, 2026 of the Information Bulletin? Councillor Peter has moved that. Thank you very much. Is there anyone opposed? If no one's opposed, thank you. That's carried. And now we go into a contract of employment. So this is a confidential item. So members of the public, we do need to go behind closed doors to discuss this. Thank you very much for coming along tonight. We will reopen the meeting at the end of our confidential deliberations, and we'll get you'll be allowed back in if you wish to return.